Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Anas Saeed. Anas, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Anas, let us know where you live and what you do.
Awesome. So my name is Anas Saeed. I live in Dallas, Texas. Okay. A little background about myself. I went to LUMS for my bachelor's in computer science. Okay. I graduated in 2016, and after that, I went for my PhD in Minnesota from University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Okay, so there I was working in the lab of Dr. Zili Zhang, and there I basically worked in network function virtualization. That was my specialization, and so network function virtualization, that was the overall thing I was working in, and obviously that goes along with the SDN, software defined network. So that was what I was working in at that time. So after completing my studies, basically I transitioned to work, okay, in professional life. My overarching plan was essentially, so a PhD is for 5 years at least, 4 years at least, 5 years on average. Okay, what happened was that when a lot of my juniors, okay, who graduated and went to work in tech companies in the Silicon Valley and Seattle, those are the two main places they go to basically. The ones I went and visited them, and basically I saw how they work, how the tech industry worked. And based on my experience, okay, I remember it was 2019 Thanksgiving when I went, and I saw their lifestyle. They used to work like 5 days a week, okay, and then Saturday they would go out someplace, Sunday they would do grocery, and it was repeat. So that was one thing that really I didn't like, okay, from a personal perspective, and especially with the PhD, okay, you're like held down or like in a jail for 5 years at least. So that basically wanted me to get a lot of freedom. So I basically made this plan that okay, while doing my PhD, I'll work on technology services and I'll get it to the point that by the time I graduate, I don't have to do a job. Because one of the things that happens is that a lot of people, they graduate, they have a great idea, hey, we'll implement this, do it for a few months to a year, doesn't work out, they need money to go get a job. Okay, I've seen a lot of people do that. That's why I basically thought that okay, a way to get around that problem would be if I have a reliable source of income. By the time I graduate, I'll have an infinite runway, so to speak. So that's why okay, during my graduation, okay, I worked on that. And one thing that is kind of blessing in disguise is that COVID happened, and with COVID, I was able to get to the point that okay, where everyone was at home, especially at the start. I read a lot of books, talked to a lot of people, got started, and that's how the journey started.
Awesome, that's a great journey. And that's what you think about the entrepreneurship. Why we should choose entrepreneurship, and in your case, what is the motivation behind to be an entrepreneur?
So there are multiple motivations, okay, for everyone it's different. In my case, okay, one was that personal one that, okay, given my education, okay, you're stuck in one place, okay, you're working and there's not a lot of money, there's not a lot of time, and there's not a lot of food. Okay, so you're doing one thing for so long and you see, okay, there should be a way out. That is one big one as far as personal is concerned. The other great one is that it is a way to help people out. So if you had to get like in the Pakistani context, okay, one person typically has if one person is earning, okay, he brings in the bread for about 3 to 4 people on average for others. Okay, so if you're providing one job to one person, you're basically catering to the needs of 5 people. And it's the same thing, okay, in America, okay, if you provide someone with a job, okay, you're basically allowing that person to live a life of dignity. So that aspect of helping someone live a life of dignity, helping not only them but their extended family members, and like there are things that happen that okay, and then it can be rewarding in other factors. Like I can give you some personal examples. Yeah, making money is fine, having a name is fine, but there are some things that hit different. One thing was that I know one person, okay, who named their child after me. They had a son, and they named that son after me. Okay, now any wealth in the world is not going to buy that thing. So that level of respect and essentially respect is something else.
Mhm.
Another thing is that okay, like I have this employee, okay, and he got married because he was employed in my company.
Mhm.
He got married because okay, I put in a good name for him to his now wife. So that kind of things, it like elevates you, and that's something that gives you joy and keeps you going through those hard days. So essentially, like if I put it from a personal perspective, obviously things like freedom in terms of time, money, and freedom, time, and money. Okay, the restrictions in that, and like you're able to achieve stuff that typically in a job you won't be do. We can talk about more on that later. Second, as far as professionally concerned, from other people's perspective, you're able to help people out, which you couldn't do in a job. And then these would be the creme de la creme, where like in my case, when someone named a child after me and someone got married because of me, that's like a whole nother level, you can say.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Makes sense. So, as what do you think if we say like what are the main core things for the success of a business? Like maybe for the continuous growth, or maybe for the success of the business. So, please let us know
So
about just two main things.
I would say that okay, they're not really like if you take at any business, okay, there are really three core functions of it. One is marketing, one is sales, and the third is fulfillment. Okay, the way I'll define it is that marketing is bringing someone into the door. Sales is taking that person who's gotten into the door to a
Yeah.
contract, and the third is that fulfillment, where you basically fulfill that promise. Okay, if we talk about tech, okay, essentially doing the development is the fulfillment part. So
Yeah.
any business, okay, requires all these three things. Sale marketing is the first thing because that's what will get people into the door. Sales is what's gonna get them to pay, and fulfillment or production, it's what's gonna fulfill the promise that you made. The thing is that for any business, every business is different. Okay, in some cases one of those three legs is much harder, and some are, in some cases it's easier. Okay, some businesses they have a much higher skill set in one of those three domains, but the ones that truly succeed are the ones who are awesome in all three abilities. An example I can give you is that let's suppose someone is opening a food stall at the Cowboys arena. He's not going to have to do any sales or marketing, but he's going to have to do a lot in fulfillment. Okay, and the reason he's not going to be able to need to do a lot of marketing or sales is because he's in a place where the sales and marketing is already done
Yeah.
for him. Because the
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys have a big name. On the converse, okay, people who like sell courses, they don't have to do any fulfillment because once a course is made, it's the case that okay, it's live. And similarly for any digital product like writing a book, a course, a PDF, etc. But for that case, okay, then the whole ball games comes into the sales and marketing. Sales is actually not that, in that case, not a big deal because you just have to, if it's a website, you have to click a few buttons and get it done. But marketing is because there's a million courses out there, but why should I choose yours over someone else even when I don't know it? And that's why okay, a lot of these content creators, okay, they essentially have such a big market that they create a course and the rest follows easily. The reason is that the hard work in their case of that marketing is already done because they have that following, and that's how it's done. Mr. Beast would be the typical example. He started Feastables, but the reason was that he had a big significant following.
Yeah, exactly. So, in mix of these three things, have you ever faced any challenge, or you have seen anyone else who faced a challenge and cope up with it? Like, if it is fixed, then how it was fixed?
So if you look at it, okay, every business would face challenges every day.
Obviously,
Okay,
yeah,
and any challenge that would be faced, okay, like let me give you this big example. During COVID, okay, when the world turned upside down, a lot of people had to cope with stuff. The thing is that in terms of sales and marketing, a lot of businesses even till today have retail as their main channel. Okay, so one of the biggest things that happened was that the pandemic hastened the approach of the digital economy because retail, okay, they were dependent on foot traffic, okay, because foot traffic vanished overnight. What do? You go on the digital channels. That's why e-commerce, social media content started to boom. Any business that you can think of, okay, it would have one of these three problems.
yeah,
Okay, as far as specifics, okay, it depends on how you want to define it. Okay, there would be businesses who are good at sales and marketing, they don't have a back end, so they basically partner with someone or they hire full-time employees rather than going with contractors. Some business, okay, let's suppose there's a tech startup in the services industry, okay, what they do is that they would ideally start to create content, okay, that might be one way where they start getting leads. Okay, because In my personal opinions, a business does not live or die by development or production. It lives or die by sales. But the thing that happens is that if you screw up development, the leads will fall. But the day the leads end is the day the business finish.
Exactly. That's a beautiful thing for sure. So, Anis, let me know, in the light of all these things, how do you measure the success of a business?
Okay, so the thing is that success for different people means different things.
Obviously, other than revenue. Obviously, I'm talking about other than revenue. Revenue is the decisive thing indeed, but I'm talking about other things that are not relevant to the revenue.
Okay, so the thing is that if you, I don't remember exactly who was it who said it, but it was something that the sole focus of a corporation should be to increase the dividends paid to its shareholders. This is some famous quote about capitalism. I don't remember who said it, but essentially that's the case. Revenue, okay, and revenue is just one number, okay, in the tech services industry, especially.
Yeah.
Headcount is also a other big ego booster, okay. That people like, hey, I have this many people, I have this many people, that's another aspect. Okay, obviously, the other aspects would be profit, I would say, should be a much bigger revenue measure. In my personal opinion, the other thing that does happen is that after you reach a certain point where your personal needs and desires are met, then it becomes more of impact. So by impact, like I said, okay, if you're able to hire additional people, you're able to provide additional jobs, that then basically comes to the fact that, okay, you're helping them succeed. Okay, so that impact where you help someone else, okay, that becomes a bigger ball game after a certain point. That's why if you look at a lot of these organizations, after they reach a certain point, like double or triple digits, okay, they would do CSR activities, donate to charities, help education, okay, help in funding activities that would help the next generation, okay. And a lot of times, on the face of it, it is a lot of it is goodwill, but it also has business purposes. Okay, so I'll say that success after a certain point in revenue would also be measured by the impact that you have in the society. Okay, and what you put into the world, you get back. What happens is that if you start creating positive impact for people, that can be by helping people, by providing jobs, by providing people with the opportunity for education, by helping a societal need. Okay, that is a
Mhm.
meaningful impact, and obviously a lot of it starts with helping your employees.
Exactly. So, Anas, what would be your thoughts on the expansion of a company? So, whenever a company is planning the expansion in short terms, what should be their main goals? Like what they should keep in their mind that they have to take care about. Obviously, this can be like it can be a location based thing, but like you have a shop or retail in a specific area, and maybe your next expansion can be, okay, I'm going to open a shop in another area. I'm not considering this sort of cases at all. I'm saying, like, whenever a business is thinking about their short-term goals, what they should think about. They should think about their revenue, or they should think about their team. They should think about the delegation of the responsibility. Like as a founder, I by myself, like I was the HR, I was the developer, I was a CEO, I was a lot of things. I was a finance manager as well. So eventually, I started delegating my own responsibilities. So, what do you think? What are the main things that a company should think in terms of their expansion goals?
So the thing about expansion is that obviously it is extremely dependent on which organization you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, expansion for, let's suppose, a content creator versus an oil refinery would be completely different. Okay,
Let's say a CBD business or
which
CPG business. Let's say CPG.
okay, consumer packaging goods.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing that I'll say is that if you want incremental change, okay, that basically comes from doing what you're doing already at a much bigger scale. So if you want, let's suppose, 5%, 10% growth, you do what you're doing the same, but you do it at a better level. Hire a couple of more employees, buy a couple of more machines, hire a couple more developers, work hard, longer hours, okay, these sort of things. But the thing is that if you want to quantumly, what's called a quantum leap or a huge jump, you can't do what you're doing. An example I'll give you is that let's suppose you want to, if you see the speed of something, like how fast you can go from point A to point B. If you want to, if you'll just run from there, from point A to point B, let's suppose you're going 10 miles an hour. Okay, a little realistic. Let's suppose it's 10 kilometers an hour. That's realistic. If you want to go 12, you can just, okay, I'll get some better shoes. I'll eat some better diet. I'll wear some better clothes. I'll see the terrain better.
Yeah.
You'll go from 10 to 12. But if you want to
Yeah.
go to 10 to 100, you need a whole different vehicle. Okay, so that by vehicle, okay, if you were running, okay, if you want to go to 100 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, okay, you need a vehicle for that. And similarly, if you get a vehicle, let's suppose any car would be able to go to 100 kilometers, 100 miles an hour for that sake. What will happen is that if you want to go to, let's suppose, 1,000 miles an hour, 1,000 kilometers an hour, a car can't do it. Going from 100 to 120, it can be. But to get to that 1,000, what has to happen is that you need a different vehicle, and that's where like rockets come in. So essentially, what you should do is that if you want incremental change, see what you're doing, see some small efficiencies you can add here or you can add there, add them, and you'll get the result. On the converse, if you want generational change, what's called or quantum leaps, you need a completely different vehicle. For a CPG, okay, let's suppose they have already distribution in Dallas, okay, they could start out with, let's go to Waco, let's go to Tyler, let's go to Austin. But if they want to spread out all across the nation, then you're talking a whole different ball game. So you'll be talking about, hey, let's get into retail, Walmart, Target, Costco. Okay, let's do partnerships with content creators, because influencers marketing is extremely useful, okay, and impactful. Okay, so you have to get on all cylinders. Okay, let's suppose if they want to grow all across America, okay, collaborating with the NFL would be a great idea. Okay, NFL is okay. Getting with some influencers who are watched all across America. Okay, so it's essentially that you have to completely change the ball game.
Exactly. So I think, in a nutshell, we can say if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
because
Awesome.
here's the thing, like you said initially, that you were doing, you were the HR, you were the developer, you were the finance manager, etc.
Yeah.
But the thing is that once you become a bottleneck, okay, there's only so much you can do, okay, and there's only so many hours in the day. So at that point, what you have to do is that you have to start to delegate. Obviously, the point comes that you have to delegate, but after that, once that point comes, if you don't, you're the bottleneck and you're gonna slow down expansion for sure. And that's where it comes in. You have to do something that you haven't done before. At that point, it will be hiring more people. Once you do that, then you hire different kind of people for different functions and you specialize. And if you look at a lot of big organizations, one of the key things is that every person is working on one small niche thing. It's not like, hey, everyone is doing everything all over. That's what startups are.
I agree. I agree indeed. So, thank you, Anas. So, at the end, what would be your advice for our viewers, especially for the ones who are planning to be their own boss and want to start a business?
So one thing I'll definitely say is that so if you look at the information economy or the knowledge economy, okay, it has its basis in the Gutenberg Bible. Okay, the printing press that was started, okay, which printed the Gutenberg Bible, was the reason we created, like, the Europe rose from the Dark Ages and information economy flourished, and it was able to take over this entire world essentially. But because with the Gutenberg Bible and the Gutenberg press, etc., it was the fact that they were able to extremely decrease the cost of access to information, because you can print a book, okay, and that book can be spread wide. With AI, it's going to be the democratization of knowledge. There's a big key difference in knowledge and information. Information, you can have 100 books about AI, but they're not going to do anything on its own until you convert it to knowledge. Okay, and like that is what I'll suggest to people, that okay, now with AI we're having a democratization of knowledge. Before, we just had democratization of information with books. Now we're getting into the field of democratization of knowledge. So use it to your benefit. Okay, the people who would be able in the future know how to channel that knowledge to bring in dollars are going to be successful, because they're going to be the ones who know how to harness the power of AI for their benefit. Okay, before AI, especially ChatGPT, was like the barrier, that was crossed, okay, which brought AI to the masses. Okay, it was there before, but
Hmm.
not at the scale for the masses. So that's what I would recommend people that start to or learn how to implement AI so that you can use it for your benefit, because it's going to be a not a once in a generation, but maybe once in a millennium change, because it's a
Yeah, gonna be a game
democratization of
changer.
knowledge.
Yeah, gonna be a game changer. Thanks
Yeah.
for beautiful advice.
Okay, because one thing, like a lot of people who learned how to code, it was the fact that okay, they learned how to code. Now AI can write a lot of code itself, so it's also gonna be
Yeah.
a down a job killer for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't understand this. Okay, like I was reading this somewhere that in the past there used to be a job in London where now there are a lot of street lights are electric. Before it was the case that there used to be gas lamps, so someone would go down, this was a job, someone would go light all those lamps at night. We don't know about those jobs, so it's gonna have a negative effect also.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Anas. It was really a pleasure to have a talk with you. So nice of you. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we will stay in touch. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Anas. Have a good day. Bye bye.